Day 95 solution. I need to bring in 3 APIs for this. I'm going to start by building essentially the program from last lesson and changing that slightly so that it only brings in a number of words. In fact, what I'm actually going to do is go and steal that code. So we're going to have to do it all again. So here's my code from last session. I just need to put in a bunch of the secrets to get that working. So I'll need news. I'll need OpenAI. And I'll need my organization ID. I'm also going to need my Spotify credentials. And this is why we have secrets. Storing all this information is stuff that we shouldn't be giving out to other people. We shouldn't be able to fork your REPL and see these API keys and things like that hanging about. So having copied and pasted the code from my previous lesson, I'm going to give it one little change. I wanted it summarized in a sentence. Let's see if I can summarize it in no more than 4 words. And let's see what I get from that. Now it's going to take a bit of time to install on first run the OpenAI library and all its dependencies. That's what it's doing. And again, the CPU is spiking there. If you do a lot of this sort of stuff, it is worth getting the boosts to make sure you can increase that. They're very reasonably priced. Here we go. So some of these are not going to yield the nicest, the nicest of song choices, presumably. But what we want to do is send those responses to our Spotify searches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a list of responses. And here, I'm just going to do responses.append, and I'm going to take the entire text out and just append it to the array. So that means I've got an array here called responses with those news story summaries in them that I can then use for what I want them for. And what I want to use them for now is talking to Spotify. So I need to bring in a few more libraries. So I've got OS requests, JSON, OpenAI. I'm also going to then go from requests, if I can spell, requests.auth import http basic auth. And I'm going to connect to Spotify here. So I'm going to pinch a bunch of code here from before to get all this working. So here we go. From here, we use the client secrets and the ID to log into Spotify, get our credentials, and then set up our access token. So that gives us our Spotify account details before we carry on then. What I want to do is I want to go to my Spotify search API and see if I can find a way. I'm going to go to my console. I'm going to go to search. I'm going to see what I can do to search for a news story. Again, my authorization token is there. So I just need to have a look at the API reference and see what I'm looking for. Let's have a look. Filters are track by the look of it. So can I just search for track name maybe? Let's have a look. I think we can just do Q equals actually. So we'll try that. Let's just put in a sentence here. Let's take one of the sentences from that. And let's see if we can feed that to the queue and get a response. So you'll see what's happened there. It's put %20s between everything there. So let's try it. My access token has expired. Okay, let's just get a token there. So it is missing a parameter type. Oh, track there. Let's try again. Oh, here we go. We do get results for just putting something straight into the queue box. So let's see what we need for that. So everything after the question mark, remember, we need the URL and everything after the question mark. I'm going to get the URL first. The search is going to be an F string. Let's get the first part of it. So it's going to be that. we're going to take out the entire New James Bond bit, which is the bit that I've copied from here. And we're going to put headline in there. And what we're going to do to generate that is going to use a series of loops. So for response in responses, actually, if we just call it headline, URL becomes that. The full URL then is generated in there. And let's just print those out to see what they look like. To do one other thing before we print it out though, because what I haven't done is I haven't actually inserted the headline into there in a good way. I've done that, but I should be doing something like, let's call it response, and then we go in and we say headline equals response dot replace. Remember, replacing spaces with %20. There is a more HTML, there's a better HTML way to do this, parse it as HTML, but this will do for now. So that should generate those, and if I run this now, we're going to get our headlines. Okay, but an inspected indent after that. That should be at the same level as that. Sometimes we have problems with this sort of stuff. Ah, there we go. Was that causing a problem then? Right, so that's 38. There we go. Place. So let's try that. So these are the things that are going in there. Responses is not defined. Let's have a look. Then responses rather than responses. Learn to spell, David. How many of these solution videos have you seen me just unable to spell in? Right, here we go. So that looks good to me. We've still got like dots and things in there, which we probably don't want. So let's also do a replace to get rid of full stops, and we just replace those with nothing because I don't really need those, and that should give us a decent URL. Now once we've got the URL, we need to create the we haven't created the headers yet, have we? So the headers, remember, I'll just copy this from some old code, is creating the bearer access token, and what we do then is we send our responses off and pass our results as JSON. So do that. Hide that for a moment, and again I'm just going to go for putting that in an array. So songs, I'm just going to say songs.append data. So at this point now we should have an array of songs. So we need to print out the headline, as well as, again, I don't need to print that out here, print out the headline somewhere else, aren't I? So where am I printing it out? Yeah, so let me turn that off. I'm going to print out the headline now, followed by the first song suggested, and then a link. Okay, so for I in range 5. So I've got 5 stories. Print responses I. So print out the name of the prompt. Print out songs I. So that's the results that came back. And the stuff that came back though, we probably want to take, we don't want to append data probably. We want to take out like the name of the first track. So it'd be data tracks items, and we'll just go for 0 there. Just take the first one. So we get that, and we want to bring in the name of the track. Okay. We also want to bring in the URL. And then we'll just print a blank line, hoping that works okay. So let's see how we did there. Okay, tracks is not a phrase that it likes. Let's have a look. And that's on line 49. So this is me trying to extract those. Let's do that and see what we get. Maybe I made a mistake with it having multiple things. So tracks it doesn't like. 49. So that's what we'll do. We'll print out, turn those off just to check what's happening here. Make sure we've got stuff coming back from the Spotify API. It's dumps, isn't it? How much money am I spending on OpenAI to fix this? Right, so we're getting 404s for each one. Okay. Let's see what's happening here. Let's check what we had there. It looks okay to me. Have I missed a forward slash? Or is it search? Question mark. I've missed the question mark. Ugh. So we were sending all those things to Spotify and I just was missing a question mark from all of them. So it wasn't working. Right, I'm actually getting data back now. So I should be able to do that. And let's put the 0 back in again. I want the first track from each one. So I'm going to turn off my JSON printer a minute. I'm going to hide it in case something's wrong with that. So index out of range means we may not be getting stuff back from them, but that's okay. Let's pull that in. Okay, so that's interesting. We get an error here, which is saying that they must be indices then. So let's just do a try and accept on that one. If it comes back with nothing, that might be what's causing the issue. Except we'll just do a silent pass if it's not working. Put a 0 on there as well. Just get the first item from each one. Okay, so we're going to have to append something if it's not there. So let's do songs.append. Let's make a dictionary where we've got name is, we'll just say no song. Because I mean, this is the reality, isn't it? Sometimes you wouldn't have it, and preview URL is going to be none. In fact, I'm just going to put none there as well. So some of them will get results, some of them won't. Yeah, what I think what's happening is that the ones that read terrible stories are not really getting much, but ones that are a bit more media inspired are getting something. So we could always put a limit on there and only ask for questions on media. But now at least I'm getting several stories, and what I could do is I can increase that from 5 to whatever we wanted. So I'm going to create a variable called max. I'm going to set it to 10, and I'm just going to replace anywhere where there's a 5 for max, and we'll just see if that's not none. We'll bother to print it out. I think that's the fair thing to do. So we'll get 10 stories now, and we'll print out only the ones that have got a song back. You can see that these API calls are taking a bit of time now. Well, there we go. So we are getting a Cristiano Ronaldo song. We're getting some negative ones, but we are getting songs that are relevant to the news stories. Not everyone returns a result, and that's probably understandable. There's not a song for every news story, but we're getting basically the sentiment of it and putting a song in there. So I think that's a pretty good solution to the prompt.